What is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel. Today I got a special video for you all because we have a 2-for-1 special, 2 movie reviews, 1 video, as we'll be talking about in the first half, the new biographical drama coming to Netflix on November 17th by the name of Rustin. Then coming out in theaters on the same day, we have the new Taika Waititi biographical sports drama comedy by the name of Next Goal Wins. Now before I give you all my thoughts of these movies, let me know yours in the comments below. Were these 2 movies you were looking forward to seeing? But more importantly, once you've seen them, let's talk about the things that worked, didn't work, pros, cons, and everything in between. And if you had the opportunity to see both of these movies, obviously 2 different films with 2 different subject matters, but which one of these movies spoke to you more? Which one did you personally enjoy more? Let's talk about that in the comments below. So let's kick things off by talking about Rustin. Now this is brought to us by the incredible director George C. Wolfe. Now this film follows Bayard Rustin, who was an advisor to Martin Luther King Jr., and he dedicated his life to the quest for racial equality, human rights, and worldwide democracy. However, as an openly gay black man, he was all but erased from the civil rights movement that he helped build. Now, I want to start off by talking about Colman Domingo, who in my eyes is one of the best actors, one of the best talented people working in Hollywood, as he gives not just a award-nominated performance, but I personally think he gives an award-winning performance as he plays Bayard Rustin in this biographical drama, which is based on a true story about one of the most important activists for civil rights, socialism, nonviolence, and gay rights. He is on full display. Like, again, I love Colman Domingo. He has so much range, and you get to see that range in this role as he demanding your attention every time he's on screen as we explore this story about perseverance and self-worth. Now, Colman really brings out the great sensibilities of Rustin as he was extremely charismatic, but he was also very well outspoken. Like, he can go toe-to-toe with the best of them, but at the same time, we also get to see him playing this side of him, which he was an openly gay man, but he was also black. So you're black, you're gay during this time, which, I mean, hell, during today's time is still kind of looked upon in a certain way, but even back then it was illegal almost, right? So we get to see him playing all these different layers of this true hero. And the thing that Colman does so well is he shows what this true superpower, if you want to call it that, of Rustin, which his gift was to bringing people together. He had these larger than life ideas and how he was able to work with these people, having them get on the same page, and just seeing all the trials and tribulations he went through, from police brutality to being shamed upon to being forgotten about to just being someone that a lot of people didn't appreciate for what he did. And I thought Colman Domingo brought all those great things about Rustin to the big screen in such a fantastic way. Now, George C. Wolfe's direction to me was so upbeat, it was so inspirational, as he really highlighted all the unsung heroes that put together this monumental peaceful march on Washington in 1963. I thought the way Wolfe captured the dialogue was so precise, it was snappy, it was electric, it was just so well put together, it kept you engaged throughout the entire runtime. This to me reminded me so much of one of my favorite films from a couple years ago, which was Mama Raimi's Black Bottom. It has a type of synergy, type of energy to the film, and George C. Wolfe is just a fantastic director. He does such a great job in this film. But talking a little bit about the story here, builds to this monumental event, and seeing this kind of larger than life opportunity of bringing people from all different sides of the civil rights movement. It was truly a remarkable organization that built to this moment. And when we see the moment, got emotional because it is just like, I know it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, of course, if everyone was on the same page, we can change the world. But when you see when people are on the same page collectively, fighting for civil rights, fighting for human rights, it's just such a beautiful thing to see. And when we see the moment in the film, it is really well executed. Now, the film doesn't come without its issues. I do think it definitely is guilty of following similar patterns that we've seen in a lot of biopics, having a lot of the similar beats that you've seen before, and also knowing that George C. Wolfe kind of comes from like that stage, you know, he has a Tony Award, he's a Tony Award actor, and he plays a lot in that kind of genre. Sometimes the film does feel like you're watching a stage play, not in like a bad way, like it didn't take me out of the film, but you could definitely feel those sensibilities of like you're watching actors characters, kind of giving those stagey type of performance, which again wasn't bad, but it was very kind of, it doesn't play as much as like a screenplay versus it does like a stage play at times. But also I will admit that I wish we could have spent a little bit more time with some of the other important figures during that time. Like again, we do have Martin Luther King Jr., who I thought was great, that I wish we would have had a little bit more screen time with. You have Dr. Anna Hinchman, who was fantastic, and I wish we would have had a little bit more screen time with. We also have Mahalia Jackson, and there's just so many other figures that were so important during this time that were great on screen. Even Jeffrey Wright's performance, I just wish we could have had a little bit more moments with those characters, because again, not only were they very important to that time, I just thought that those performances, this ensemble cast is great, and I just wish we could have had a little bit more screen time with those pivotal figures. And I also will admit that I wish the film would have spent a little bit more time on diving a little bit deeper into him being an openly gay black man and how that affected his career and how people looked at him. I wish it was a little bit more scenes focused on that. But overall, I will say Rustin was at his best when it focused on this bigger than life character and what he did to the civil rights movement. Colman Domingo's performance paired with one of the year's best ensembles cast, which I thought was fantastic. I really did enjoy this film, and I think it's definitely worth your time when it comes to Netflix on November 17th. I'm going to give Rustin a 3.8 out of 5. Now, let's transition in talking about the new biographical sports drama comedy brought to us by director Taika Waititi. We're talking about Next Goal Wins. Now, this film follows Dutch coach Thomas Rogden, who attempts the nearly impossible task of turning the American Samoan soccer team from potential losers into winners. Now, I'm going to be honest, I know Taika Waititi is kind of hot and cold for some people, but I think he's a fantastic director. Now, I love what they do in the shadows, Hunt for the Wilderpeople, Jojo Rabbit's my favorite film of his. Really love Thor Ragnarok, but not Love and Thunder. And sometimes I feel like Taika just puts too much Taika in this movie and in his films overall. But this has a better balance than what he did with Thor, Love and Thunder. Like, there are the comedy beats, there's the charming moments. Like, I think Taika does such a good job of finding the almost kind of childlike sensibilities in all of his characters. Like, he tries to make the traumatic, more serious moments be a little bit more lighthearted, finding the funny within the sad. And he does a good job of finding that balance in this film. Sometimes he goes a little bit overboard, that we'll talk about a little bit later. But for the most part, I found this to be a delightfully fun and just kind of just enjoyable film for the most part. Like, it's not super thought-provoking. Like, it's not trying to dive too deep into the minutia of the drama, which I wish was a little bit more elaborated on. But it's just having fun and sticking to the beats of things that I liked about this film. I think even though the story kind of let me down and didn't hit the emotional beats, the characters are really what shine through to me. Like, referring to the characters on the team element definitely has shades of the wonderful characters that came from a show like Ted Lasso, whether it be seeing people like the assistant coach in this film who went by the name of Ace, or you even have Oscar Tavity who plays Tava, who's like the mayor. He does everything in town. Like, there's so much charm and just delightful nature to these characters. But even the characters like Rachel House, who plays the wife, like, there are just so many collective pieces in this film. Like, I like you a lot. I just wish the story was a lot bit better. But I'm telling you all, the standout of this film to me, in the heart of the film, is the performance from Kaimana, who plays Gia, who in reality and in this film was the first trans woman to compete in the FIFA World Cup qualifier. She is the breakthrough star. Like, I really enjoyed what they gave to that character. Again, I wish again that the emotional punch was a little bit there, but she really does shine through in this film. So honestly, there are moments to have some good laughs. I really enjoyed the characters and the team, but unfortunately, not all the pieces to this puzzle come together. Like I kind of briefly mentioned, the emotional depth isn't there, because I hate to bring it up, but I like Taika a lot. Like, I love, like I mentioned up top, the films I love from him, but I think he's getting a little bit too much self-indulged, and he doesn't know when to pull back. Like, there are a lot of moments in this film where he leans so much into the comedy that it takes away from almost the characters. Like, it's like the characters are like very much enjoyable, very delightful, very charming, but then Taika kind of brings them down a notch when he has them do these overly long jokes that just kind of suck the air out of the room. But also, I feel like it lacks some of the character development that really would have made me connected more to the film. And I really hate to say this because I am such a big fan of these two actors. Like, I just saw Michael Fassbender in The Killer, which was a very simplistic movie, but he brought a lot to that film with his kind of simple approach to the character. Michael Fassbender is totally miscast in this film. Like, he is so wooden in this film. He's kind of almost like sleepwalking throughout this movie. Some of it is sure it's the character Thomas, who's a coach who's kind of down and out, who has to pick between, do I want to continue coaching soccer or giving up? And then he also has like this emotional kind of story going on with his daughter. But I don't know, man. Whenever Taika was trying to make him be the more mean guy, but also be funny, it just didn't click to me, and I feel like he was miscast. But also Elisabeth Moss, who is fantastic as an actress, she plays the wife of Michael Fassbender, and she just feel like she was off. Like, all the non-Samoa soccer players to me that were in this film just didn't fit within this narrative. They just felt like they were out of place. But also, going back to out of place, I don't necessarily think Taika was the right person to tell the story, because again, he touches on the funness, the childlike kind of approach to the being a soccer player, what it means to be on a team, how being on a sports team, whether it's soccer, basketball, football, like having that kind of bond and what that looks like. But then he doesn't allow the emotions to really play within those delightful moments. So I think there's a lot of missing pieces to this puzzle, Taika being one of them, Michael Fassbender being one of them, and also Elisabeth Moss. Overall, it's an underdog sports movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. It has some fun moments, some entertaining characters, but it doesn't hit the emotional side as well as I think that it should have. And I think overall, it's a pretty average film that I would give. Initially, I was going to say a 2.5 out of 5, but I'll bump it up to a 3 out of 5. Now again, Rustin's coming on Netflix on November 17th. It is in limited theaters. That's how I was able to see it. So if it is in theaters, that's something I recommend you all see. But if you don't have it in your local theater, definitely watch it on Netflix. And then again, when it comes to Next Goal Wins, that will be in theaters on November 17th. And I think you can pass on seeing it in a theater, even though I'm a big advocate of seeing films on screen, but I don't think this has that kind of money or that time that's worth spending your money seeing in theaters. I would say watch Next Goal Wins when it comes available on Netflix or some streaming service probably later by the end of this year. So those are my thoughts on both films. Let me know yours in the comments below. What worked, what didn't work, which one of these films do you prefer more over the other? Thank you again for watching today's video. Consider liking, sharing your thoughts. Consider subscribing to the channel. You all are awesome. Hope you're staying safe. Thank you all again, and I'll catch you all on the next video.